Hi, I'm Nadine Thornhill, sexuality educator, and welcome to You Ask, I Answer, where I answer your questions about sex and sexuality. So this week we have a really great request from a reader on Facebook. I would love to see a segment on STDs and where and what tests are available in Canada, what's covered by OHIP, what's not. I don't feel like I have any STDs, and I've been with the same partner for many, many years, but I was quite promiscuous in my early teen years. How do you know you have an STD if you have no symptoms? This is a really great topic. It's one of my favorites. It's also a really big topic. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm actually going to break this down over 2 episodes. So in this first episode, I'm going to talk about it in general, and then the next episode we're going to get a little bit more specific. Before we get started, just a short note about terminology. Some people use the term sexually transmitted disease, or STD, and some people use the term sexually transmitted infection, or STI. So I usually use the term sexually transmitted infection just because I feel like there's maybe a little less stigma around the word infection, and it maybe sounds a bit less scary. Also, infection implies that, yes, you may have contracted something and it may be in your body, but it may or may not have obvious symptoms the way a disease might. For those of us in Canada, STI testing is available through doctors and clinics. In Ontario, you can actually go for free STI testing at a sexual health clinic. They're all across the province, and you can learn more about them by visiting sexualhealthontario.ca to find a location and to learn more about the types of tests that they offer. What's the deal with sexually transmitted infections? Well, infections are just part of being a person. Human beings are social creatures, and as such, we share space, we share food, we share drinks, we touch, we hug, we kiss, we wrestle, we tickle each other. And there are a lot of great things about being with each other and interacting with each other, but one of the not so awesome consequences of that is also that we make each other sick sometimes. Sexually transmitted infections aren't different than any other kind of infection. There are some that are very mild, there are some that can be very serious. There are even some that can be fatal. Having a sexually transmitted infection does not mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're irresponsible. It doesn't mean that you have poor hygiene or poor health practices. All it means is that you had some sort of sexual interaction with another person and that you picked up an infection. Practicing safer sex can significantly reduce your risk of contracting an STI. Safer sex practices include using barriers such as dental dams, condoms, gloves, or finger cots. It can mean taking prophylactic medication that can reduce your chances of contracting HIV if you're having sex with an HIV positive partner. It can mean getting vaccines that can protect against infections like HPV or certain types of hepatitis. Or it can mean practices like fluid bonding, which is basically when you and a sexual partner both get tested, and once you've tested negative, you only have barrier-free sex with each other. Often when people have sexually transmitted infections, they don't have any obvious symptoms, or the symptoms they do have are fairly innocuous. So things like a fever or chills or a sore throat or a rash. Things that don't necessarily say sexually transmitted infection. One way that infections survive are by jumping from host to host, and a way that they can do that is by lying low in our bodies, at least initially. And so we go about our activities, we interact with each other, not knowing that we're infected, and the infection spreads. So one surefire way to know whether or not you have a sexually transmitted infection is to get tested. Generally speaking, the earlier an STI is detected and treated, the less of an impact it's going to have on your overall health. There are actually a lot of STIs that are curable, and for those that aren't, they can often be well managed through medication, especially if they're detected early. STI tests are usually done either via a urine sample, a blood sample, or with a swab test. And the type of test you get will depend on the type of infection your doctor or clinician is looking for, as well as your anatomy, and sometimes it also depends on the type of sex that you've been having. If you're someone with a uterus and a cervix who gets pap smears, you will get swab tests as part of that pap smear, but unless you ask, the doctor is probably not going to use those swabs to test for sexually transmitted infections. However, if you do ask, they'll do it. So it's definitely worth asking if that's something that you're concerned about. So that's part 1 of STIs. Next week, we'll go through each STI and what their symptoms are. In the meantime, if you have a question for me, you can send me a message here through my Facebook page. You can find me over on Twitter at Nadine Thornhill, or you can always hit me up through my website, NadineThornhill.com/contact. That's it for this week. I hope you guys all have a great week, and I will see you soon. Bye!